Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to another Ultimate Comparison by PRcast 9. In this episode, the boAt Stone 350 is going to go head to head with the boAt Stone 352. Now, I don't know how many of you have already bought the 352, thinking it's one of the latest speakers from boAt, giving you a huge difference in terms of features or sound. So, for all of you who are still contemplating on buying the 352, or you're confused if you want to get the 350 or 352, what the differences are, do they work in true wireless stereo mode, what is the bottom line? I'm going to give you that in this episode. So we're going to do the sound test of them individually. We're also going to do a true wireless stereo test where both of these will pair with one another and play music in true wireless stereo. So you get 10 watts and 10 watts, 20 watts of output together. We'll compare that as well. So if you're excited for that, please make sure to smash the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And after watching this video, whichever speaker you decide to pick up, even if it's both, my only request is please use the links of these speakers given in the description below to make your purchase so that you can help me run this channel and produce more such helpful and high quality content just for you guys. All right, so with that said, let's start. All right, so I was also very excited to get the 352, thinking that it's finally an upgrade over the boAt Stone 350. So maybe I was expecting some new features or something special, but turns out it is actually identical. Now, there are subtle differences. Like the biggest one is that the 352 is going to be sold only on Amazon, while the 350 is going to be sold on Flipkart. Now, in terms of features, in terms of all the other bells and whistles that these two share, I'm not going to waste your time going over each and every one of them. Rather, the chart you're seeing right now basically summarizes what the similarity and differences are. So as you can see, there are absolutely no differences. So these are essentially the same speakers with subtle differences like color. So you get different colors on Flipkart, different colors on Amazon, and the button layout, the multifunction buttons. So for the 350, the buttons were etched in, while for the 352, they are raised. And the LED light orientation on the 350 was horizontal, while it is vertical on the 352. And that's it. Now, the sad thing is the 352 could have at least packed a USB-C charging port, but no, it comes with micro USB. So 2022 and micro USB, unacceptable. Now these two pack two speaker driver units inside. So the same orientation with both. So it's like two speaker driver units on either side. So they give you more or less a 360-degree sound. Now physically, there are no other differences. It's fabric all around with the multifunction button strip in the center with bass radiators on top and the bottom. And that's it. It still feels dense and feels like it's going to pack a punch. But that is where I'll get into why that is again very disappointing when it comes to the sound test. So with all those out of the way, now let me give you my breakdown, my verdict on the sound quality. How did the 352 compare to the 350? Is there any difference or is it identical like everything else? All right, so you guys know, if you're an existing viewer, I don't just say good sound or bad sound. I delve deep and say that any sound that you hear is made up of broadly three frequencies: the highs, the mids, and the lows. Highs, where the really sharp sounding instruments are, the mids, where the vocals lie, and the lows or the bass. Now, starting off with the higher frequencies, while both produce, I would say, undistorted, without any sort of crackling, high frequencies. So the high frequencies sounded quite sharp and audible, and there was no distortion on either at max volume. But surprisingly, the boAt Stone 350, the high frequencies on the 350 sounded much sharper, and in comparison, the 352 sounded much more subdued. To the point where, there is a point where if it's too sharp, you get sibilance where the S's sound very, very harsh and it gets irritating. Now, I'm not saying the 350 sounds amazing, but it's just that in comparison, you almost feel like you are covering your ear with your hand when listening to the highs of the 352. In comparison, the 350 sounds much sharper. So for the general public, for an average listener who doesn't understand so much about frequencies, when they listen, they'll automatically gravitate towards the 350 because they'll say this sounds sharper and louder. So the higher frequencies are tuned to sound much sharper on the 350 while they're much more subdued on the 352. Now, this will boil down to your personal preference. If you don't like a lot of sharpness, then you might want the 352. But if you do prefer that clarity, that really, really sharp rendition of the higher frequencies, you'd obviously want the boAt 350. Now talking about the mid frequencies or the vocals, again, both sound, almost identical, except the fact that because the 350 already has its drivers tuned to sound much more sharp. So again, even in the mid frequencies or the vocals sound sharper on the 350 while they sound much more subdued and I would say shy on the 352. Now, it's not bad. In certain tracks, you might prefer that. But in general, if you do a blind test where you keep these two speakers and ask the listener to choose one of them, I'm pretty sure, out of 10 times, 9 times that listener is going to choose the 350 because it sounds so much more sharper. Now, some, again, they might find it a bit irritating that it's so sharp, but it doesn't have distortion. So maybe, personally, even for myself, I would say the 352 is a bit too subdued in terms of the highs and the mids, while the 350 just sounds that much more sharp and it's more enjoyable to listen to. Now talking about the low end or the bass frequency. Now, I've said in my review of the boAt 350 as well that even though this speaker feels it dense and quite, hefty in the hand, the bass response is very, very disappointing. I'm not saying it's absent, but it's just that even if it was to produce balanced bass, it should have had a bit more bass so that you can at least feel a bit of the punch. You don't feel the punch. Even it has two passive radiators on the top and bottom, both of these, and the bass response was identical. So they were both disappointing together. So that thump, that low end that makes you enjoy your music much more, or when you're watching movies and have these gunshots and explosions, and if you're watching these with the sound relaying through these speakers, the bass response is going to be disappointing. So these are absolutely not for a bass head. And if you're looking for some speaker which is bass heavy, the boAt 350 or the 352 are not worth getting it if you want bass. But for highs and mids, you can obviously choose them. I would suggest you get the 350 because it just sounds sharper and has more clarity. Okay, now you are going to listen to the sound test. So they will play at max volume. You're going to listen to a single track from the 350 and the same track again from the 352. And then in the second segment, you're going to listen to both of these playing the same music in true wireless stereo mode. So yes, you can pair the boAt 350 with the boAt 352 because they are essentially the same speakers. So true wireless stereo works flawlessly. And you're going to listen to that. Now, what happens when you play true wireless stereo pairing these two is that the sound, obviously, it's 10 watts and 10 watts. So you get a 20 watt output technically. So it doesn't get extremely loud, but it's loud enough for a small to medium sized room. But still, the bass response is not great, even in true wireless stereo mode. Just that the highs and mids get really sharp, very audible. So in that sense, it is worth it. But for bass response, whether individually or in true wireless stereo mode, it was still disappointing. So, you guys will listen and get to know what I mean. So anyway, guys, that's been my verdict, my review. Now, I'm not saying either of these are bad speakers by themselves. They obviously have a place and it obviously has a user or a consumer who is going to really enjoy this sound. So if you're one of them, you can't go wrong with this. You might enjoy it. So just choose wisely after listening to the sound test and keeping in mind the points that I said. So guys, that's been it. That's my verdict on the boAt 350 and the 352. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And obviously, share this video with your friends and family or whoever is confused between these two speakers and wants a verdict. Make sure you forward this video to them. And like I said, if you decide to pick up any of these speakers, please help me out by using the links of these speakers given in the description below to make your purchase. It's not going to cost you anything extra. But you guys will be helping me run this channel and produce more such high quality and helpful content just for you guys. All right, enough said. So now enjoy the sound test and I'll catch you guys very soon in the next one. Cheers.